Everybody knows that it's worth keeping away from the tigers, lions, sharks, and other dangerous creatures. Anyway, there are nice-looking animals that can pose not less threat. From a tricky seal and the most gracious bird in the world to kind bears with a surprise and mini virus carriers. In this edition, I'll show you the nicest animals that are much more dangerous than you ever expected. Sea leopard. Look at how cute this creature is. It's obsessed with its life, as proved by the look in its eyes. It feels like it's just lying around, relaxing, and making everyone happy. Well, it does, but only in between fierce battles, because it's a sea leopard, one of the most treacherous predators in the world. If these same crocodiles or snakes always look formidable, the seal knows how to get a deceptive impression. Despite its cute face, this body is full of insane rage and power. Probably only orcas can compare with the sea leopard in terms of cruelty of reprisals with the prey. Like orcas, these monsters attack seals, but more often penguins, on mauling them properly and then eating them. This can happen at a depth of 1,000 feet where the sea leopard descends for prey, chasing it. By the way, like orcas, these predators sometimes do not even eat their prey but simply kill it. Unfortunately, there's a scientist in the list of victims of this seal who was dragged by a sea leopard to great depths after she fell out of the boat in the Antarctic. Therefore, tourists and scientists in the Antarctic traveling by boat are potentially at risk. Out of the water, the sea leopard is not as powerful, but it's better not to get so close to it. Swan. Swans are associated with grace and beauty. These delightful birds mesmerize with their movements and large wings. It seems that they're real aristocrats from the feathered world, but this is just how it looks. Many people call them real scumbags and reckless creatures, and they're quite right. Swans are not very fond of people and animals and always demonstrate that. It's a common myth that a swan can easily break a person's arm, but it's unlikely. But it can definitely beat a person with its wings or even drown them. Unfortunately, this happens, although very rarely. Scientists believe that when a swan attacks a person, it doesn't aim to finish them off, but sometimes can carry them away. Domestic animals are a greater danger. They're smaller, often as big as swans themselves. Therefore, the bird can harm them. The mute swan, a big guy with a wingspan of up to 240 centimeters, is particularly dangerous in this respect. There have been several cases when swans attacked people in boats, causing them to fall overboard, whereas the birds prevented them from climbing onto the boat or swimming to the shore. Panda. Big pandas are some of the cutest creatures on the entire planet. That's not even debatable. They're literally teddy bears, only alive. They're very chubby, clumsy, and funny. They chew bamboo and constantly fall down and get stuck somewhere, and they're fine with it. They like to live like that. But don't forget that the panda is a predatory animal. Purely technically, it's the same bear as a grizzly or polar bear. They belong to the same family. The panda is hard to anger, but if you do, it's likely to show its dark side. Pandas are excellent fighters who crush their opponents with all their weight. They also have sharp claws, and of course, don't forget about their teeth. You need incredibly strong and sharp teeth to be able to eat hard bamboo so dashingly, and that says a lot. It's almost impossible to find pandas in the wild now, and that's a good thing. It means we're safe from them. But in zoos and sanctuaries, some people get into the pandas' enclosures or provoke them, and they get retaliated against. A panda is a real bear, as well as the next member of the selection, only it's not quite right. This is what the British called it when they first came across it. At that time, they thought the animal resembled a bear. Do you know what I mean? The koala, of course. These amazing Australian cuties are similar to pandas in many ways. Even though they're not bears, they also always eat something such as eucalyptus. Koalas are not distinguished by some athletic physique or super agility. They're often clumsy, well, and everything in this way. You can admire these animals for a long time, but it's better not to get close to them. Yes, koalas are not predators, but that doesn't mean they can't fend for themselves. They're constantly climbing trees and perfectly cling to any bark. Its long claws help them as they're sharp as a razor. Just imagine how a precise claw blow to the face or throat area could end up. Luckily for us, koalas only attack in case of human aggression. Well, or if a human intrudes on their territory. Of course, you should not get in touch with the koala cubs as well. In this case, the Australian bear cub will be much more serious and aggressive. Also, a huge number of koalas have chlamydia. You probably know about this disease, and if you don't know, you've heard it's something venereal and unpleasant. Well, after contact with a koala, there's a chance of getting infected. To avoid it and help the animals, the Australian scientists are vaccinating them against chlamydia. There are many dangerous animals in Australia in general. Various poisonous snakes and spiders, huge crocodiles, lizards, and so on. But this edition is about cute creatures. There are much less of them, and among them is one of the symbols of Australia, the platypus. It's a very small and very light mammal with a very strange appearance. Its beak alone is worth a lot. Together with its spread legs, it makes a platypus a very cute and safe creature. It's generally true. Platypuses do not attack people and in principle rarely ever get involved in battles. In nature, it has few enemies. Talking about a close contact, a platypus is dangerous. This Australian animal is poisonous. Interestingly, it's one of the few venomous mammals on the planet. The fact is that the poison of the platypus is not located somewhere in its teeth, but in its spurs on the paws. They're sharp, and platypuses use them during mating bouts. They also use them to defend themselves. Through the spurs, a powerful poison penetrates the skin of the opponent. It's not lethal to humans, but can kill a small animal, including even a dog. To humans, however, the poison causes severe pain, and swelling develops at the injection site, which gradually spreads to the entire limb. The pain can last for many days or even months. Cat. Now, many of you disagree with me, and I understand you, especially the cat people. How can we say that our favorite cute pets can be dangerous? After all, cats are not dogs that can really chew up a person. That's right, the cat's attack is unlikely to be fatal, although it can really happen in the long run because, for example, stray cats can carry rabies and leptospirosis, extremely dangerous and deadly diseases. As for domestic cats, they can be dangerous to play with. Deep scratches can pose a threat to our body. There's even an infection called cat scratch disease. Bacteria enter the wound and negatively affect our organism. You may even develop a fever. The treatment prognosis is favorable, but you will still have to suffer to cure from the consequences of such play. Does anyone want that? Don't forget about cat bites. Cats have sharp teeth, so they can break the skin, especially in children. Other sores can also penetrate the wound, including worms. To prevent this from happening, you should keep an eye on your pet's health, trim the claws, and vaccinate it. At the same time, you should not play too much to prevent it from growing into a real battle. Raccoon. As well as pandas, raccoons are undeniably cute creatures, especially when it comes to chubby raccoons. Anyway, you can find quite a few of them. What's more, they often get involved into funny situations, strike funny poses, and so on. No wonder that many people even have raccoons at home as pets. In general, a pet raccoon is not more dangerous than an ordinary cat. Nevertheless, you should never forget that these are predatory creatures. That means instincts can show themselves. This is much more often manifested not in domestic but in wild raccoons. In their habitat, they often visit people, steal their pets' food, and can also attack the pets themselves or even humans. But dangerous attacks in such cases are rare. Healthy raccoons usually just run away if they're spotted or chased away. But if a raccoon behaves really aggressively and attacks, it's most likely rabid. This can be understood by other things. A rabid raccoon twitches, raises its head, goes in circles, comes close to people, which is uncharacteristic of healthy animals, and so on. Raccoons come down with rabies very often, and this is their main danger. A rabid raccoon, like any other animals suffering from this disease, fights to the very end because it's no longer aware of its actions and controlled by a virus that will inevitably kill the poor guy. You should stay as far away from such raccoons as possible when attacked, fight back to the very end, and afterwards immediately run to the hospital to get vaccinated. The first thought many of you have right now is, oh, it's a lemur. Actually, it's not a lemur. The animal's name is the slow loris, and it's not related to lemurs, except that it's also a primate. The primate is very cute, not big at all, funny but tricky. Do you remember what I said about the platypus? It's one of the few poisonous mammals. Well, it's the same story. What's interesting is that until last year, scientists had thought slow loris was the only poisonous primate in the world. The poison of this animal is also released in an unusual way. Glands on the front limbs. When the animal's frightened or thinks that somebody can kill it, it smears the poison on his head. This way, if a predator tries to eat the lory, it can poison itself. But the toxic primate can also use the poison to attack. In this case, the lory absorbs the poison, holds it in its mouth, and bites the offender. With a bite, the toxin penetrates the skin and can cause suffocation and death, not only in small animals but even in humans. Next, we have some of the cutest forest dwellers. Literally, it's all about a squirrel, from its behavior, care for nuts, and a fluffy tail, to its funny look with a special charm. Although they're considered as pests in some parts of the world, you'd have to look very hard to find a person who ate squirrels. Without any surprise, they're often fed if encountered in the woods. You should do it with an extreme caution. A squirrel can accidentally bite a person and transmit dangerous diseases with a bite. You can even get rabies from a squirrel, although with low probability. But apart from rabies, a squirrel can carry a lot of different infections that will not bring anything useful to the body. And occasionally, you can encounter very aggressive squirrels, pouncing on people and animals. They're literally isolated cases, but still, this is another reason to think about whether you should approach a squirrel or not. Anteater. When it comes to this animal, a funny stance of the anteaters comes to mind. The way they spread their forelimbs, stand on their hind legs, and shout as if they were fighting. Anteaters take this stance to show the readiness to fight. They also increase in size this way that can scare away the opponent. That's what four-toed anteaters do. You can say they're not dangerous to humans, or maybe just a little bit. Anyway, their big brothers, the giant anteaters, are much more dangerous. A giant anteater won't get up on its hind legs so fast, and it doesn't need to. It's unlikely that any human would go up to a giant anteater to tease it. Personally, I wouldn't do that. I mean, look at how big it is. This guy can reach more than 4 feet long and weigh 88 pounds. What makes it dangerous? His size? Not really. Maybe its teeth. Nope, it's not that. It has no teeth at all, and his mouth resembles a trivial narrow tube. Through it, the animal sticks out a long tongue and eats ants in the thousands. Anteaters' claws are dangerous. They're very long and strong. The giant anteater doesn't bite anyone, but it is able to swat even a jaguar with a precise blow of his paw. Yes, the very big cat, which doesn't hesitate whether it's worth or not to attack even anacondas and alligators, let alone a human being. We wouldn't stand a chance after an anteater's precision hit. I'm sure you've heard of these creatures. Shrews are not big at all. Many weigh only a couple of grams and don't exceed a few centimeters in length. And from eyesight, their family representatives are very cute. They look like a mouse that's grown a proboscis. We ask yourselves, how can such a small creature do any harm? Well, it can. First of all, the shrews are incredibly voracious. Because of their instantaneous metabolism, they have to eat a lot. So they attack everyone they can, from an insect larva to earthworms to lizards and even frogs. As far as humans are concerned, we're certainly beyond their capacity. Nevertheless, a shrew can bite a person who picks it up, purely to defend themselves. If you're lucky, nothing will happen. However, some species of shrews are poisonous, and their bite can bring a number of dangerous and unpleasant symptoms. In addition, certain species of shrews carry hantavirus, which can lead to fever and other complications. So it's best to stay away from these tiny beings. We've already mentioned about nice but dangerous cats. Now I'll show you what they're capable of. Rat. Let's start with these rodents that cats regularly hunt. In fact, they have a harder time hunting rats than their favorite mice, but many cats do well. For example, this black cat snuck up on a rat, bit it, but it immediately escaped. The cat tried to use the same tactics, but the rodent didn't really want to fight. It hoped that the cat would just leave it alone, but the predator didn't let up. The cat won. Sometimes cats use a different tactic. They do not bite rats, but hit them with their paws. Look at the hook this ginger cat threw. The rat even got stunned for a second, but then decided to fight back. To avoid that, cats have to deliver several blows in a row, like this cat. A few punches with the left paw, a few punches with the right paw, and the final blow to the head. The rat didn't even realize why the furball had done that to it. In general, direct combat is not always the choice of cats. These predators prefer to ambush. Watch how this cat does it. It's sitting by some trap door, watching the rat and acting as cautiously as possible. It takes its time, prepares an attack that should be flawless, waits for the moment, and abruptly grabs the rat with its teeth. It was great, but don't think that rats do nothing but get it. They can teach cats a lesson themselves. Check out this ninja rat. It dazzled the cat with its stunts, defended itself, and left the predator with nothing. Birds. It's not uncommon to see your favorite pet sitting by the window, gazing intently into the distance and chirping. Most likely, at this moment, it's hunting birds. This is a manifestation of the cat's wild instincts. On the one hand, it's the sound of excitement of the cat fascinated by the prey, and on the other hand, it's disappointment because the cat cannot get the prey. But if there was no window, the chirping ends and the battle begins. The first fighter is the black and white cat, which cornered the pigeon. The cat thought the pigeon was dead, but the bird managed to fly away. The hunt failed because the cat was in too much of a hurry. Birds have a very good reaction and an advantage in the form of wings, so cats need to attack them as unobtrusively as possible. Like this stealth predator, it approaches the prey inch by inch, literally. The prey doesn't see it. The cat tries not to make noise, gets ready to crouch, and grabs the bird as soon as it turns away slightly. Impressive. That's about the same way this cat attacked a magpie, but the magpie managed to escape. Besides, its relatives were nearby and, if anything, would have beaten the cat and taken the bird back. The cat understood this, so it did not attack again and then decided to get away from this troubled place. With birds, one needs to be inconspicuous and unpredictable, and this cat did everything right. It lurked under the wall, didn't give away its position, and attacked the pigeon sharply, taking it by surprise. Sometimes birds manage to escape and fly away, but the fact that they fly doesn't mean that they're safe. Cats can catch them literally on the fly. Look how this bird pestered the cat. At first, it tried not to pay attention to the impudent feathered creature, but soon its patience came to an end. When the bird finally pissed it off and flew up to it again, the cat grabbed it on the fly and didn't let it go. It reminded me of how birds are caught by wild and big cats. For example, here a leopard was hunting a bird that was trying to escape on a branch, but it wasn't an obstacle for the predator. It literally soared and easily grabbed the bird, and so it can catch not only a harmless bird, but also a dangerous predator, even an eagle. No matter what kind of cat it is, domestic and small or wild and huge, all of them are graceful in terms of hunting birds. Dog. It's the four-legged man's best friend's turn. In fact, many dogs get along well with cats, but there are still fights between these animals. Of course, dogs often win, purely because of their size, but cats are not bad either. In this case, the dog messed with a whole gang. Literally, these cats held territory and didn't want to see any outsiders. Everyone was tense. The dog didn't understand what was going on, and the cats were in a fighting stance. Their backs were arched, their hair stood on end, and they were ready for any outcome. Personally, I thought the dog would be the first to attack, but it wasn't the case. One of the cats sharply attacked the dog and the whole gang scattered. Here again, we see the confrontation between a furball gang and a dog. They got into an argument and had a fight. The cats rushed at the dog, scratched it, and tried to ram it. When the dog attacked one of them, the other cats immediately intervened. It was not easy for the dog to watch everyone. The cats exhausted it and won in the fight, though it was not a fair fight. This confrontation is also a bit unfair. The cat hisses and beats the dog through the cage. The latter can't respond properly, but don't think the cat's a coward. There's an entrance on the side. The cat goes in and hits the dog directly. The dog didn't expect that. Then the cat found a hiding place and the dog couldn't get it. Okay, street animal fights are normal. They happen often. But domestic conflicts happen no less often. Here, the furball didn't like that the Kangal dog was nuzzling its paws, and it decided to teach it a lesson. This Siamese cat is a great boxer. It beat the dog like a punching bag, and the dog couldn't do anything. It's not uncommon for dogs to take such a beating. This was about the same kind of beating. Dogs are smart. They realize that they're much stronger than cats, so they sometimes have to take such blows, so the cats will blow off some steam and calm down. Some like boxing more and some like wrestling. This cat decided not to swing with its paws, but just wrestled its black four-legged friend. Also, it bit the dog a couple of times. Okay, in fact, pets are more likely to play this way than to sort things out, but cats and dogs really do not like each other. We've known it since childhood, but why? It's hard to say for sure. But scientists have a few thoughts on the matter. According to one version, they have different behavior. Cats simply do not like contact with other animals, in contrast to extroverted dogs. So a dog attacking a cat can sometimes mean just curiosity, not an attempt to hunt. According to another version, it's all about the predatory nature of both animals. And according to the third version, the cause of conflict lies in a long-standing competition. Distant ancestors of cats, saber-toothed tigers, hunted dogs, so they may have developed a sense of dislike for cats at the genetic level. Cats have conflicts not only with dogs, but also with many other members of the dog's family. With coyotes, for example, where they're common. I'm talking about North America. Cats often fall prey to coyotes that sneak into cities, but they can also sometimes fight back. Here, for example, a coyote got into a cat's territory, and the black predator didn't stand for it. It chased the intruder away without hesitation. The same thing happened here. A coyote came close to the house where a cat lived. The cat jumped out and frightened the coyote. The wild dog had to run away. Although it tried to come back later, the cat kept chasing it to get as far away as possible. And this coyote was already right on the property of the house, but the cat wouldn't let it get into the house itself. The brave furball fiercely chased the coyote away, and it had to jump over the fence to escape. This black cat was also on the defense of the house and was not afraid to run up to the coyote and punch it with its paw. The coyote decided not to fight and just ran away. Coyotes? Come on. Cats don't mind getting in a fight with something even bigger, like deer. A cat just has to be very confident and cocky, like this one. It pushes against the fawn, and the fawn is clearly afraid of it. The fawn backs away and stomps with its hooves, warning that it's ready to defend itself. But the cat's not frightened. It still pushes against the fawn and scares it. And this cat attacked the deer, and a big one at that. The antlered one didn't understand what this little thing was doing and started sniffing. The cat continued to pretend that it didn't care at all, but after this retaliatory kick with a hoof, it still ran away. Cats are not only afraid of deer, but even of snakes. Moreover, snakes themselves dislike cats and are afraid of them because it's not easy to deal with such an agile predator. This cat noticed a snake on the road and decided to eliminate the threat. It boldly went out to it, and the fight immediately began. The snake tried to attack the cat, but it dodged, didn't come too close, and hit the snake with its paw, trying to stun it. It seemed to succeed. The snake slowed down a lot, and when it tried to attack again, the cat dodged and grabbed it with its teeth. It's something similar here, except the snake is kind of unfolded. Both opponents are hitting each other while the second cat is watching the fight. The fight was close, but it seemed to me that at the very end, the snake gave up. What do you think? This cat decided to act aggressively right away. It likes bites more than punches, so it tries to grab the snake with its teeth, but it does it carefully. When the snake falls out, it starts working with its paws. That's all great, except the snake didn't seem to want to fight at all. During the whole fight, it never attacked the cat and just wanted peace. It seemed to me that the cat was playing with the snake rather than trying to kill it. But in the wild, it's much more serious. There are no games. Everybody's fighting for their lives. Among cats, sand cats are the best at dealing with snakes. They're inhabitants of hot deserts where there are a lot of creeping creatures. Sand cats have to engage in dangerous battles with venomous snakes, and often they come out victorious from, just like in this video you've just watched. Have you thought about how long your pets can live? Now I'll tell you about long livers. June 1933. It was then that the world saw a very young parrot named Cookie, who was destined for a long and interesting fate. This creature with pinkish feathers lived 83 years in captivity, saw several generations of people, and died recently in 2016. At the same time, one can't call the life of this cockatoo easy. He didn't sit all day long at home and didn't eat top-grade food. The very next year after his birth, Cookie found himself on the territory of the Brookfield Zoo. He was among the first generation of animals to settle in this facility. Generations of animals and keepers changed, but the bird remained the oldest resident of the large and probably the most popular enclosure. In 2007, his condition worsened, and he was prescribed daily medication with a special diet and vitamins. 2 years later, Cookie was removed from the public eye to keep him calm and healthy. It became clear to everyone the cockatoo is much better and cozier in such an environment, because of which it was decided to minimize meetings with people. Hit the like button if you too didn't know that zoo people can be so kind. Personally, it seemed to me that if one or another animal finds itself within the enclosure, it'll never be able to get out of there. Besides, it would be exploited until the last moment. Fortunately, it turns out that's not true, at least not always. But let's not talk about sad things. Here's another story, this time about a lobster named George. He was caught in 2009, and at that time the animal was more than 140 years old. Just imagine the fishermen's faces when they see such an old and at the same time large creature. Yes, they probably have dollars in place of their eyes, like Mr. Krabs from the SpongeBob TV series. Of course, the creature was quickly and efficiently sold to a restaurant. We all realized that it was done to create a super expensive and exclusive dish. Thankfully, animal advocates found out about it and had time to intervene. They managed to get poor George out of the restaurant and return him to his natural environment. It took them no more than 10 days. The longest-lived vertebrate species. What do you think it is? A whale? No, it's not. Scientists have named the Greenland shark as such, a creature that, on average, swims underwater for about 300 years, but can spend half a millennium there. By the way, do you know how people figured that out? They didn't watch the shark for 5 generations in a row. They took another, simpler and more cunning way. Analyze the eye lens and the size of the animal, because these creatures grow throughout their lives. What's more, it's likely that the Greenland shark's potential has not yet been fully explored. Scientists are still racking their brains and can't figure out how the shark does it. Animal tissues contain trimethylamine and oxide, which prevents the destruction of proteins at very low temperatures. Maybe that's the secret. Or maybe it's that the shark's in no hurry at all. It swims at a speed of just under 1 to a maximum of 1.6 miles per hour and sinks to a depth of 1.2 miles where the pressure is hellish. In general, it does everything in its power to avoid contact with other creatures. Jonathan the tortoise. Remember that name because that's the name of the Seychelles giant tortoise, who today is about 190 years old. No one can determine his exact age. All we know is that the tortoise was born no earlier than 1832. The creature lives in the official residence of the governor of the island of St. Helena and is considered a local mascot. By the way, this is the same island where Napoleon Bonaparte found his last resting and passed away. At one time, 4 adult and rather large tortoises were brought to the governor as a gift. It was 1886, and judging from the first photographs, these reptiles were already at least 50 years old. At that time, it was fashionable to keep outlandish animals and birds in the official residences of the British colonies, so the tortoises were kept. Jonathan, however, according to the Guinness Book of Records, was awarded the title of the oldest land animal. By the way, this tortoise brought a great omen to the locals. If Jonathan is calm and happy, it means that the governor and his subordinates continue to maintain consistency, combined with persistence. And that's a very good sign for the rest of the people. That's all, guys. Which long liver surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you later.